Welcome to Laricy Live. You want to know what's happening in the real estate market? Then this show is for you. I'm your host, Matt Laricy. All right, so today we are addressing a huge topic that is really a big deal during this season, and that is the double closing. Double closings are something that a lot of clients of mine will reach out and say, hey, what do I do? What do I do if I need to sell my place to buy another place? We call that a double closing. So today, what we want to do is address what is a double closing, how do you go about it, what's the best strategies for it, etc. Because at this time of year, a lot of people are getting ready to put their places on the market and then buy, but they need the money to sell their place to buy up. So people are confused with what to do. So what we're going to do is we're going to read the questions off of what people gave us, what some people think they might have some questions on, and we'll go from there. So number one question, what is a double closing? Okay, like I said, so a double closing means that you have to sell the property you currently own in order to buy a new property. So like you would close on the property, take those funds of the place you sold, use those funds to buy a new property. It is very complicated. It sounds scary. It is a little scary. I bet you you'll have a little bit of a nervous breakdown or a panic attack at some point during the double close process, but that's essentially what a double closing is. Can you walk us through how they typically work? Yeah, I mean, just like I said, essentially you'd close on your property at, let's say 9 o'clock in the morning. Those funds would be transferred to the next title company, and you would be closing on the buy at like noon. So it's very quickly how it goes down. You never actually see the funds if you do a true double close. And it can be stressful because there's a lot of things that hinge. And if one small little detail goes wrong, guess what? This whole thing falls. It's like a domino effect, okay? What do clients typically need to do? Why do clients typically need to do a double closing? So a lot of people have to do a double closing if they don't have enough money. It all comes down to dollars and cents. I mean, in a perfect world, you don't have to do a double close, meaning like you don't have to sell your place to buy up. Like you buy up, move out, take your time, prep your property appropriately, don't even live there, and put it on the market. Now, the thing with that is that you have to have the funds to be able to do that, meaning that like you have to be able to afford to float that property, which hypothetically, let's say it takes 6 months, a year. Let's say it doesn't sell. So you have to have the funds to be able to sell your property or to buy that property without selling yours. And that's essentially why somebody would have to do it, is they just don't have the cash for it. Is the timeline for a double closing different? No, it's not really different. Essentially, it's the same process. You just have more things that could make this fall apart. And we're going to get into some of these things here in a minute. How in the world do you get the timing to match up for this selling your place and also buying one? If you did a true double close, what you would do is sell your property. You would ask for, let's say, a 60-ish day close and have that buyer agree to be a little bit flexible on a week or two, either for or against you, to try to line it up correctly. You identify a property pretty quickly, within like a couple weeks, and then you make an offer on that, and then you line it up. So let's say you're buying your place or you're selling your place, you're going to close March 24th. You got a lot of time. When you buy, you need them to be able to do March 24th. Now, it can be tricky because you're dealing with two different parties that have to be able to agree and have that time work. But in all honesty, with a lot of screaming and yelling, it usually can work out. Do you sell first and then start looking? My best advice is this. My best advice is take care of the asset first. If you need to sell to buy, you sell first. In my market that I work, things are selling quick, but not like out of control fast. And there's enough inventory that's consistently coming on the market. But even if you're like in the burbs where there's nothing on the market, I'd sell first, because guess what? Nobody is going to take a contingent on a sale offer that's not under contract. So guys, just let's back this up. What is a contingent on a sale? Contingent on a sale means that the offer you make is contingent on you selling your property. Now, if it's not sold, that's a weak offer. It's essentially meaning that you're making an offer, but you got to sell your property before that seller can close. Who in the world, in the hottest market, is going to take somebody who still has to sell their property when there's other people who could buy today and don't have a contingent on a sale? So get your asset off your books. The other reason why I suggest people to sell their property before they start looking is it makes the process much more difficult. If your property could take, like for us, it's let's say you own a high rise, right? High rise market's really tough right now. The high rise market is not flying off the shelves. It could take 6 months to sell your place. It could take a year. Maybe it takes a day. I don't know. But what can happen is that you'll get on the market, you'll start looking at other places, and then you start stressing out because now you're falling in love. You're emotionally getting attached to properties that you're seeing. Like, oh, I love this. I want to buy it. Then it sells. Then you see another property like, oh my God, I love this. And then it sells. And then you see another property like, oh my God, I love this. And then it sells. And then you're looking at your agent that's selling your property. You're getting pissed. You're like, we need to move this, blah, blah, blah. And the stress is just mounting and mounting and mounting and mounting and mounting. And that is what makes the process so much more difficult. If you sell your property, then you start looking, it really alleviates the stress. Now, the downside with that is what if you sell the place and then there's nothing on the market that you want to buy and you're running out of time? Guess what? Get a short-term rental. Go move in with your parents. I don't care. The main thing to do is get this asset off your books. Is there certain times of the year where it's easier to get a double closing done? Honestly, I would probably say that it's probably easier to do it in the late fall, early winter time, like that September till December, because then you might be able to convince somebody to take a contingent on a sale. So just kind of pretty much being a complete hypocrite of everything I said is it's possible. I still wouldn't do it. I wouldn't have any of my clients personally do it, okay? I would definitely recommend against it if any of my clients are listening to this. But then you could probably have a little bit more leeway because it's not as hot of a time of year, and the seller may say, screw it, let's just get it done. We'll take this offer. What happens if you sell your place and you can't find something to buy? Easy. You Airbnb a property. You go live with your parents. You find a short-term rental. Whatever it is, that's what you do. I know what you're saying, Matt. I got kids. I don't want to stay in a short-term place. I get it. But guess what? If you can't buy a place, so you sell your place, it's tough shit. It sucks. It sucks. I'm going to tell you right now, if you're selling with kids in general, your life is miserable. You're selling with kids you're going to buy, it's extra miserable. I can't change this, okay? It's just the way of the world. So the main thing is then you can make an offer without having to sell anything, and you have a nice, clean offer. You would move out of your property. You'd keep your all of your goods, from your guys in storage. The movers will take it, put it on like a pod, and store it at their warehouse. You just take your essentials to your rental, and hopefully you find something pretty quick. That's it, guys. The same shit comes on the market constantly, okay? This isn't like this is going to take you a year to find a place. You may have 2 to 3 weeks of uncomfortable living. Most people have families somewhere near, okay? Go live with them. I know I think you sucks, but guess what? You'll get free laundry, have dinner on the table. You get to yell at your parents and get yelled at by your parents again. I know it's not ideal, but hey, free babysitting if you got kids. But that's the best way to kind of do it. What percentage of closings are double closings? No clue. I don't know any statistical stat behind it. I know that I probably, in the springtime, have about 20-ish% of my sales are double closings. So about a fifth of my, fourth or fifth about my transactions are double closings during spring. And then in the fall, winter, it's like maybe 1 out of 5 or 1 out of 10 or something. It's lower. But I see it more in the springtime just because it tends to be people with kids for some reason that are doing more double closings. How do you prep clients when you know they'll be doing a sell and buy and need to do a double closing? I set the right expectation, okay? And I think this is a problem that a lot of people out there that may be watching this or listening to this is like why it is a problem for you is that you don't realize that this sucks. That's it. Somebody's going to walk in the door. There's going to be a realtor dressed probably semi-nice, going to sell you on this dream that this is a great process. It's easy. This is going to be beautiful and fun. And then you're sitting there stressed out, about to have a panic, nervous breakdown at any time, thinking about how bad this sucks. And the reality is that I walk in, I'm like, listen, this is going to be a miserable process. You got to show your place all the time when you got kids and got to clean up. Then you're going to get an offer on your property. You're going to have a nervous breakdown because you don't know if you're going to find anything. Give it 24 hours, sleep on it, you'll be fine. Wake up, let's pound the pavement and find what you want. That's it. You'll do it. I'll tell you right now, I could remember maybe a few in my career that didn't find something they liked pretty quickly. We're the market I work, again, you may be watching this, be like, we're up in, X place and there's never any properties in the market. Okay, it is what it is. The market I personally work and where my people are going typically works out pretty easily because there's a lot of inventory that's constantly coming on the market. It's selling fast in certain areas of the city, but it's coming on the market. So I set the right expectation. And I think for you to understand how this process works, if you have the expectation set to you, you're going to feel a lot better about how this works. How do you see other agents handling double closings? I mean, I don't know. I can tell you, sometimes we have a very stressful closing process because the other agent is doing a double close. Like their person's like buying one of our properties and they're selling something else. And you could see the agent is actually probably more stressed than the sellers. And it's because they just never did it and nobody told them what to do. And I think that's the problem, is that they just don't understand how it works. So the only time I ever see, and I'm not saying every agent, I'm not saying everybody's terrible. I'm not saying that. I'm saying that the only time I see agents not handle it well is if A, they're uneducated on how it's done, or B, they're just super stressed out in general and they're making the situation worse. So if you're an agent watching this, be cool and calm and collect. If you are, you'll make the process easier. What mistakes do you see other agents making with double closings? Just what I said. Just keep cool, calm, and collect, and you'll be fine with this. If you have a seller buyer who knows they are going to need a double closing, what advice do you have for them when choosing an agent? Somebody who knows what they're doing. That's it. If you want to choose, if you're going to be doing a double close, work with somebody who's done this before. That's it. Don't choose your friend who just got the real estate license, because I'll tell you right now, you're going to be in for probably one of the most miserable experiences of your entire lifetime. I've already told you the process sucks. It's going to be even worse if the person doesn't even know what they're doing in the first place. That's going to be a problem for you guys. Are there certain agents who can handle double closings better than others? Yeah. Anybody who's experienced. Anybody who's done this times. We're going to do maybe close to 500 transactions this year. That means I'm probably going to do close to 100 double closings this year alone. Okay? And last year we did 400 closings. We probably did about 70, 80 of them that year. When you've done thousands of double closings in your career, I can handle it a lot better than your best friend who just got their license, or some no-name agent at some small company that people, well, we're a small company too, but that just never done this before. So my point is that somebody who's experienced with it, or has no experience but is working directly with a boss that has done this a million times. That's how you do it. How much of your business would you say is double closings? I already said this. Are there certain situations where double close definitely won't work? I don't think so. I think there's certain situations where from what I've heard, there's some cities in the country where the people are waiting like 3 hours for open houses. Like maybe it's just so competitive. So in that scenario, I would tell my clients, hey, if you're moving out of state, you may, and it's that competitive, you may just really just plan on a short-term rental and sign something now to de-stress this whole situation. But I do a lot of actually that's probably where I do my most double closings. They'll sell here and they'll buy in a different state. I'd have to look, but maybe 15 clients right now that are selling here and buying in a different state. And the cool thing that we have is we're really well connected with other agents across the country. So I recommend the agent to them, give it to them, and then, hopefully it works out. Sometimes our recommendations don't. Most of the time they do. Can you do a double closing across 2 different states, selling one and buying? It's like I predict the future. Yes, you can. Happens all the time. I just said that we do this all the time. It's very common. Especially in big cities, guys. A lot of people in big cities you're getting transferred from Chicago to New York, or you're getting transferred from New York to, LA, whatever it is. Do your clients need to attend the closings for both buy and sell? No, you just have to attend for the buy. In Illinois, I get it. Every state's different. So you may be watching this in Oregon and be like, hey, it's not like that here. But in our state, a sellers never go to close, ever. I never have any sellers go to close. And on the buy side, technically, if your lender approves it, you can do a P of A. So like you really don't have to go to close as a buyer if your lender allows it. So, but I would just plan on going to it if you're a buyer. Do double closings have a higher percentage of falling through? I don't know any statistical proof behind that, so I'd just be like pulling something out of my ass by saying, I know a percentage. I can tell you they are trickier, and if one small thing happens, it can delay or ruin both transactions. So you're just kind of walking on eggshells this whole time. Biggest red flags with double closings. Financing. That's it. The financing on the buy of your sell. So remember, I said you got to sell first to buy up. I know my buyer's going to be good, right? But is the buyer of the property of my listing okay? That's the biggest red flag. And you know what sucks is that me as an agent, I could just call up that lender. The lender tells me it's good. He says he runs his credit and everything like that. And then guess what? They're like, hey, they got some student loan debt that we didn't know about. And then my seller's screaming at me and saying, hey, now I can't buy my dream house because they had some seller loan debt. How did you know? And I'll say, well, listen, I can't read minds. There's laws that protect me from understanding all the information. So yeah, the biggest red flag is the fact that if a lender can't do their job correctly, that's it. That's what drives me freaking nuts about this, because I will lose deals that are double closings because the lender sucks at their job. And that's what drives me nuts. It makes my blood boil that everybody loses what they wanted to get done because somebody else sucks at their job. Just imagine that. This is a good thing. We've had instances where people's lives were pretty much ruined because somebody didn't know how to pull credit. So I know I sound rude when I say it, but you're ruining people's lives when this messes up. That's the biggest red flag. Is it harder to get a loan approved for a double closing? No, it doesn't make a difference, because essentially the lender's saying like, hey, this person's approved as long as they sell X asset. That's it. So otherwise it's the same process. How do lenders get involved differently during double closings? I will tell you, we ride lenders, but man, do we really frickin' ride lenders when it's a double close. I mean, we are calling 4 times a week. Lenders hate my assistant Jamie on double closings. Hate, because we're checking in. And to be honest with you, I don't care if we're hated. I could give a shit. My goal is to get this job done. I was hired to do a job. That's it. I'm a real estate agent. And if my job's to make sure that that deal closes, you better believe I'm going to do everything in my power to get it done. So when it does fall apart because of a loan dies, and then you're yelling at me, I'm like, here's the 2,000 emails I've sent with this lender. What more can I do, right? And I get it. When something fails, you're going to blame me because you hired me to do a job and it didn't close. And I get it. And I'll get yelled at. You can belittle me and you can make me feel like I'm 2 feet tall. But at the end of the day, I personally know that we've done everything we can. So that's how we get involved differently. Does the lender matter? Fuck yeah, absolutely. I talked about this in my multiple bid podcast. A lender makes a world of difference. Just like in real estate, there's 20, 30, 40,000 lenders in Illinois. There's probably 200 that know what they're doing. That's it. So yeah, most lenders, the way to get an approval, guys, is that a lender takes your information, they put into a system, hopefully they entered it accurately. I would say about 25% of the time, about a fourth of the time, a lender doesn't know how to enter it into the computer, okay? So they enter in the computer, and the computer spits it out and says, hey, this debt-to-income ratio is okay. We'll give them an approval. And they churn out this candy piece of paper that says they're approved. Now, they didn't look into find detail about anything. They didn't look into their financings. They're just going off of a few documents that a guy sent them over. So where the problem lies is when they actually get all the information and if somebody lies to them. And guess what, guys? People are full of shit. Probably 70% of people I meet are full of shit. People will tell me one thing, I'll get to know them, and then they'll tell me the exact opposite. Be like, yeah, I know I told you this, but looks around, we're in the car by ourselves, and is like, actually, I just want to let you know, I haven't paid my student loans in 6 months. Oh, okay, can't get a loan. Oh, I just switched jobs, and now I'm self-employed, and this is what I'm going to do for a living. Oh, yeah, I can be able to get a loan. So like my point is that a lender who's good at their job will be able to warn somebody like ourselves to make sure that we know this is going to go through. So when you're doing a double close and you have all this pressure, you have all this stress, it's good to have that right lender on the side to make sure that this is done appropriately. What's the best way to go about a double closing? Just like I said, meet with your agent, get a game plan involved, get your property on the market, get your property under contract, start looking for listings right away, pound the pavement like a madman, make offers contingent on the close of your property, go under contract, and then line up the close dates. That's it. It's simple. I know I talk fast about it. I make it sound easy. I think it is easy. I really do. There's a lot of pressure. There's a lot of stress. I'm like Tom Brady in the fourth quarter, down by 7 with the ball in my hands. And I'll tell you right now, I'm going to score that touchdown because guess what? I'm confident in it. Right, Paul? We got this. You know, he's smiling. Paul over here, our camera guy, he's smiling about this. He knows, man. Tom Brady, if you're confident that you're going to get this done, that's the best way to get a double closing done. If you project confidence onto your client and you let them know that, hey, listen, I got this, your clients are going to feel a lot better about the situation as well. The problem is, like I talked earlier, when your agent is more nervous than your clients, and a lot of times that's because they need the cash and they're nervous listing fumbles that they're not going to be able to pay their bills, then yeah, that can be a problem. Do you need to have a relationship with a lender? No, you don't have to have a previous relationship with the lender. I mean, like I said, having a good lender is all that you need. What do first-time sellers, buyers not typically understand about double closings? I just don't think most first-time sellers don't understand anything. So I think the biggest problem is just setting the right expectations. How does the money from your sale physically get to the buyer's transactions? When you close on your sale, 9 a.m. you close, that money is wired directly to the next title company and then you close. You will never physically see that money. It is fictitious zeros and ones that are sent through the air in the skyline to another little data box that takes that money. Does it matter which kind of bank you use? We talked about this. Are there banks typically cooperative with double closings? We don't need to answer that. What do you do with all the stuff, all your stuff when you're already moved it out of your place, but you haven't moved in the new place? You move out. So here's what you do, guys. Let's use a Friday. You're closing Friday at 9 a.m. on your sell, and you're closing on your buy Friday at noon. You would move out Thursday morning, okay? Get all your shit on the move-out truck. The truck, you can hire a moving company that's going to store it overnight. So all your shit's going to stay on the truck Thursday night. You'll do the walkthrough on your property that you're selling Thursday night, okay? God forbid, nothing happened to the property since you left, okay? Friday morning, 9 a.m., you're going to close on your property for sale. You're going to do the walkthrough of your buy around 10 or 11, okay? Then you're going to go to the close of the buy. You're going to close on that property. And then around 1 o'clock, all your shit that's sitting on the moving truck is going to be sitting in the front door of your new property unloading. So yeah, that day, that Friday that we're talking about would probably be one of the most stressful days of your life. And guess what? By Saturday, you'll open yourself up a fine bottle of wine. You'll get drunk and you'll say, hey, this shit wasn't that difficult, was it? So, let's see. Do you recommend storage units for double closings? Yeah. I mean, storing it overnight would probably be the best way to do it. I don't think you need an extra storage unless something bad happens. How many hours do you schedule between the two closings? I usually do 3. We'll do like 9 a.m. close, 12 o'clock. Now, the problem is what if the 9 a.m. wire doesn't hit or something happens with the LUT? So this is the big one. Let's talk about this. I don't even know if this is going to be addressed, but I'm talking about it now, so let's get moving on it. You're closing Friday. We're going to use Friday again, okay? 9 a.m. on your cell. The lender fumbles, okay? They don't know what they're doing. That wire doesn't hit. Now it's 1 o'clock, still doesn't fund. 4 o'clock, doesn't fund. Guess what? We do a dry funding because you can't close. The bank messed up, and now we can't close till Monday. Now what do? All hell's broke loose at this point, right? Because you got to buy that property. All your shit's sitting on a moving truck. It's moving there Friday night. So here's what we try to do. Now, we try to put our sales hats on, and I talked to the other agent on the buy side to say, hey, we did a dry close on the sell. We're going to do a dry close on the buy. A dry close means that everything is done except the money hasn't hit the account. And we'll usually do a dry close on the buy. We'll hold some money in escrow for them to be able to move in so they have it that weekend and all the money hits Monday. Usually I could use my negotiation skills and get that done. Okay? Now, the only way this is really never going to work is if you're selling your place, the buyer's thing gets screwed up. The place that you're buying is also, that seller that you're buying is contingent on their next close. Triple close. That's when it gets really interesting, and that happens. Have I seen that happen? You're goddamn right I have. I've seen everything. There's nothing that surprises me anymore. Those get really tricky, and sometimes you're sleeping in a hotel for the night, or the weekend, actually, in that case, and you're very stressed out. You're yelling at everybody, but again, if I could predict the future or tell you that the lender's going to suck, I don't know, but 9 times out of 10, I could get my sales hat on. I convince everybody to make this all go away, and I'll get you in that property. It's very, very rare that I just have people I can't help convince to make sure shit goes our client's way. And it's not just my client's way, it's everybody's way. Everybody wants the same end goal at this. The reason things get a little hairy is that people let their ego get in the way, and then they want to make it difficult because they want to seem like they win. I've been in that case too. I've been the asshole that's had the ego that tried to get in the way. And sometimes you're in the midst of these negotiations, everybody's yelling at you, and you lose your cool. It happens. It's happened to me. It's probably going to happen to me again at some point this week. It's going to happen to you that's listening to this. You got to take a step back and calm down and figure out the situation, see the lay of the land, and get it done with. Now, usually we could take a step back, fix the problem, and get it done. But you got to all work together if there's a problem on these double closings. And it can be really stressful because just remember, your person can have a little bit more of a more on the line than you can. So you got to make sure that everything works out for everybody. What if happens if one of the closes gets delayed and then they can no longer close on the same day? We just talked about that. Can you pull off double closings with kids and pets? Yeah, I mean, there's no difference. It just sucks more, like we talked about this whole time. Do you see more clients doing double closings or just buying and selling one property at a time? The only reason that I see people do double closings is over money. And like, let's face it, like a lot of people either A, don't have the money, or B, don't want to spend the money just to spend it and have the extra stress of sitting on an asset. But if you can afford it, buy up, sell your place. I did. That's what I did. I bought a place, couldn't sell my place, sat on it, pissed away a shit ton of money, ended up renting it. It sucks. But guess what? That was easier for me. At that point in my life, I thought my time was worth more than the cash, and that's what it was. But guess what? Everybody thinks differently, okay? And there's no right or wrong way to think about it. There's no easy way to go about a double closing. How does the commission structure change for a double closing? It really doesn't. Like we offer a little bit of a lower rate if our clients are buying and selling us off us at the same time. I also offer a lower rate if it's a client that used me in the past. It's a loyalty program, right? You go to Starbucks, 10 times, you get a free coffee, right? So, the way I look at it, so I'm not giving no free commissions, okay? So I don't want somebody to be like that, but I'm saying we'll discount things for certain structures, okay? How can you avoid delays or communication issues during the double closing process? Everybody's just got to be involved. We do 2 to 3 follow-ups a week minimum on double closings. If everybody knows what's happening, less problems can arise. Can closings happen on bank holidays? No. If it's a holiday, nobody's closing, so keep that in mind. Can you still do an inspection of both properties when you're doing a double close? Yeah, the process itself, guys, doesn't change. Just the way the closing happens is what changes. That's it. Everything else is the same. Is it best to both close in the morning, or can you close on one in the morning and afternoon? You need the funds, so the buyer has to close first. So you need at least a 3-hour gap between the buy and close, okay? Some people, in order to make sure nothing happens, is they'll close on like Thursday at 9 a.m. on their buy side, and they'll close on the sell side, they'll close Thursday at 9 a.m. on the sell side, and they'll close Friday at 9 a.m. on the buy side. And what they'll do is they want to make sure there's not that situation I just talked about, like these long delays, because if there is, they can't make that double close. And the only way that works is if, one, you don't care, like you'll stay in the hotel or you got parents nearby that you're going to stay with, and you're like, I just want to make this easier. So again, in an ideal world, make it a day apart. It saves on a lot of, headache. How can you make communication smooth between all parties for double closings? Just checking in. How common is it to have a buyer have the money for a down payment without needing to sell their home first? Maybe 25% of the time people can afford to buy without selling. It's a lot of cash, guys, especially if, we're an expensive market. You're buying a $2 million place and you got a $1 million place. You're talking you got to have a lot of cash saved up to be able to make that buy without selling. And then you have to have that cash on reserves for when your place that's $1 million plus doesn't sell. So, we're not talking, pennies on the dollar here. We're talking hundreds of thousands of dollars people have to have in the bank. And the average consumer has less than $10,000 in the bank. So, this is an easy situation. Are any lenders that won't do a double closing? No, it has no difference. Are there realtors that won't do a double closing? Nope, that doesn't make a difference. What's my best double closing story? I will tell you, I'll never forget this. I had a closing on a buy, my seller was selling the place, buying in Texas, and I remember, I'll never forget this one. I remember the day before closing. So all my clients' stuff was packed up on a van heading towards Texas. Okay, so they're out. They're out. Their stuff is on the van. They're out. The day before close, the buyer's loan falls apart. Can't get a loan. Now the lender, I got hundreds of emails saying this guy's good to go. The day before the close, guy can't get a loan. Deal dies. We're screwed. The people's dream house is gone. The call that we got, getting yelled at and screamed at and hearing both husband and wife crying, kids crying, everybody screaming at us, telling that we're terrible people, makes you feel awful. I mean, there's no better way to describe how bad you feel for those people when you hear that happen. And guess what? There's nothing I could do because I can't change what that lender did. And they completely dropped the ball, and it completely fucked people's lives. But I'll tell you, I know who that lender is. I will never in a million years try to accept something from him again. I legally can't not do it, but I will try to see if they'll use other people because I know the guy sucks at his job. And that agent that they used, I have a very bad taste in my mouth about. But again, it's not like you could like boycott these people. That's against fair housing laws. I'm just saying like it makes you think twice about, when you see certain people in the field. And I will tell you, we were able to get that property in the market. I was able to sell it within the next 3 weeks. They were still able to resecure the house they wanted. But that was probably the worst double close experience I've ever had. And that happens, guys. That happens, and that can happen. And you just have to know. You just have to know that this possibly could be a terrible situation. How can you make everyone not freak out over the thought of a double close? That honestly, I keep saying it, but the only way to not freak out is know that this is a tough situation. If you know it going in, it's easier because you have the right expectation set. That's it. That's all the questions. So make sure to hit our bell, tune into our next episode, and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Thanks for listening to Laricy Live. Make sure to tune into our next episode and subscribe to our podcast. Thanks for listening to Laricy Live.